Hello everyone, my name is Purple Georgy, and today I want to talk about Jurassic Park Rebirth. I want to say right away, this is not like my usual kind of review where I talk about all the details of the plot. No, this is more like a podcast spoiler-free kind of video. Tell me in the comments if you like this kind of video, like and subscribe, whatever. I can say right away that Jurassic Park Rebirth was pretty good for me. It was definitely way less imaginative than all of the other movies, but it's not like it's a bad thing, because I don't know, for this franchise being too imaginative typically means dinosaurs being militarized, which didn't really make a lot of sense honestly, but they dragged it through several movies, and then, oh no, the dinosaurs were gonna spread across all Earth, and again, they try to make it incredibly serious and epic, but it didn't make much sense. Like, we have guns. Like, when the story is happening at a small island, I can understand why dinosaurs pose a threat. When dinosaurs pose a threat to the government, I think we got this, guys. So, yeah, because of that, the story in this movie takes place at a small island with a small group of people who stuck there without guns, actually. I was actually kind of surprised by it, because this whole time I thought they have guns, but they just didn't want to use them to not attract attention or something. But it turns out, yes, there was actually one character with one gun, which shot tranquilizers, and he got eaten the first. As a result, most of the time dinosaurs pose a pretty big threat, and the characters most of the time just try to run away from them, which, not gonna lie, leads to pretty fun action scenes. You can feel that they're trying to come back to the old formula, the formula being several strangers got accidentally stranded on an island full of dinosaurs and now need to escape somehow. Oh yeah, and I mean the wild island, because honestly, yeah, every movie character has got stranded on the island with dinosaurs. In addition to that, the movie creators finally read some original material from the book of Jurassic Park and decided to implement some horror aspects. Yeah, in case you don't know, original Jurassic Park book, which first movie is heavily based on, was a horror story. This movie does have scary scenes, but most of the time horror aspects are really cliche. Essentially, most of the horror scenes are just jump scares, basically, and it feels really stupid because it feels like dinosaurs are just becoming incredibly silent out of nowhere. Like, typically, when the dinosaurs are on screen in this franchise, they're either roaring really loudly or stomping really loudly. Like, it legitimately feels like the creators of the show watched the Godzilla 2014, where there were a lot of scenes where giant kaijus were appearing out of nowhere. Like, you couldn't hear them stomping around, they just show up randomly, and only then you can hear them. Same thing in this movie. A lot of times dinosaurs show up, they show up out of nowhere, and I understand when small dinosaurs like raptors do that, but when freaking T-Rex does that in the finale, that really looks comedic. I don't know, maybe that giant knob on his head adds like extra 10 points of silence to his stats, but by that logic, Godzilla should look like this then.
What's that thing on your head?
T-Rex was honestly the whole reason why I even went to watch that movie, because his design was pretty intriguing, and I'm glad that they finally gave up and just started doing straight up monsters and stopped pretending like it's dinosaurs. And I want to admit that the scenes with him do look cool, but I'm not joking when I'm saying there's like 3 scenes where he literally appears out of the fog, and the scene is like dead silent. You hear nothing. You're in a vacuum of space, until the dinosaur appears on screen and suddenly becomes incredibly loud. I'm not even exactly sure why they did that, besides trying to jump scare the audience, because I feel like it would have been much cooler if you're in an enclosed environment, you hear that thing, like, you know it's somewhere around because of the way it stumps around, but you don't know where exactly. Like, that would have been a much scarier scene than just him randomly, magically appearing in front of you. Like, that kind of just ruins the immersion, because when that happens, you just realize, yeah, that's CGI graphics and not an actual dinosaur. Like, the magic of filmmaking kind of breaks at those moments. And it kinda upsets me because there are several scenes which do exactly as I described, but they usually happen still in almost like childish way, because every appearance of the dinosaur not only comes with a jump scare and a loud sound of this dinosaur, but also those dinosaurs appear and disappear in an environment that supposedly should prevent them from appearing and disappearing randomly. Okay, so you understood what I'm talking about without me spoiling the movie for you. I'm gonna discuss this scene from the trailer and the teasers, where the girl is dragging the boat, trying to get it to the water, and there's just a T-Rex on the side. First of all, the scene is pretty long, but you don't hear the T-Rex, even though he's literally sleeping just right outside of our POV. But no, he doesn't make any noises, he doesn't snort, he does nothing until he appears on screen. Furthermore, when she gets the boat covers T-Rex for a brief second, and after that he disappears. For those who don't understand what exactly happened there, T-Rex stood up and walked behind that hill. And I don't even care that he did it in a span of like a millisecond, but again, no noise. And what's even funnier, in that scene, all of the characters are acting like they have no idea where the dinosaur has went, even though they supposed to see him stand up and walk around the hill. For them, he didn't just disappear, they had a different angle of POV. Like yes, for us, because of the camera angle, we don't know where exactly did he go, but they should be able to see it because they were looking at him from a different direction. But because this scene is supposed to work like a jump scare, everyone becomes freaking Dora the Explorer. Oh no, where did the dinosaur go? Help us find it, guys!
Can you guess what dinosaur this is?
Scenes like this isn't something necessarily new for the franchise. I mean, more or less they were in each movie about Jurassic Park, but I don't know, in this movie they feel like particularly cliche. On that note, I actually do want to point out that sometimes the tone gets shifted incredibly, and I feel like sometimes when the director or the editors were making this movie, they couldn't even figure out what's the theme exactly. You can even see it in the promotional material, because there's this like teaser where the actors comment on the small dinosaur named Dolores, which one of the characters carries around, and when I was watching the movie, I think she showed up for a total of 3 scenes. And yeah, scenes with Dolores are cute if you take them in the vacuum, because I remind you, they're in the same movie where the dinosaur almost eats children alive, or scenes like with the main monster of the movie who looks like a mix of Xenomorph and Godzilla. But hey, cute dinosaur, yay! Alright, let's come back to the whole reason why everyone even went to see that movie. D-Rex, like I said, only shows up in a few scenes, but I would say there is the right amount of screen time with him. Yes, it's only basically a few appearances, half of which are the teasers for the final action, basically, but it still feels alright, because after all, this is the largest dinosaur the franchise is probably gonna throw at us, unless they straight up start making kaijus. So for the story purposes and shock effect, his story time was limited, because I feel like if they would have just given enough of screen time, he would have just murdered everything on the island. Overall, his presence in the movie was just a chef's kiss, I would say, because he didn't have too much screen time, he didn't have not enough of screen time. Overall, pretty good. Speaking of inspiration, this movie also, in my opinion at least, feels heavily inspired by the recent Alien movie. Especially when it comes to the electronics in this film, because you know how in the last Alien they tried to mimic the electronics of the game, which is supposed to be like retro-futuristic? So, same thing happens in this movie. In the flashback at the beginning of the movie, when stuff's supposed to be happening in the 90s, I legitimately felt like I was in the Alien movie. And in this flashback, I can at least justify it, because again, it's supposed to be like the past, and I can explain that retro-futurism. But for some reason, when the stuff is happening in the present day, there's also a few computers. Like, I think the scientist with glasses has a laptop, which is also done in this retro-futuristic design. And it's not really explained. Like, they do mention that he's poor, and I thought it's supposed to represent that he can't afford a better computer, but same tech never actually shows up anywhere else. Everyone else is just using regular smartphones, boats. It just looks really out of place. Speaking of the characters, actually, I liked them for the most of it. There were a few characters which I thought for sure I was gonna hate. It's this girl and her boyfriend. But I'm surprised, because for the most part they had decent arc, especially this guy, because he was played by a cool actor whose performance I kinda liked. But also he had a good redemption arc. If at the beginning he seemed to be really annoying, then you realize that it's on purpose and he's gonna really glow up afterwards. This girl, however, was kind of annoying, because for the most of her scenes, for some reason, she was acting hysterical. And there's a partial explanation for that, but that explanation kind of leads into another problem of this movie. And spoiler alert here, because the following part of the video is gonna contain like actual spoilers to the storyline. It involves a few plot twists, so you know, in every Jurassic Park movie there's typically a rich guy who's interested in dinosaurs. In the late movies, those kind of rich characters are also evil typically. This movie also has a character who's rich and who's supposed to be like an antagonist, but as much as other characters trying to convince me that he's evil, that doesn't really work for me, because there is literally only one scene with an action that he makes that can be at least remotely classified as bad. Basically, in a sequence where the boat with the whole gang is attacked by Spinosaurus, this rich guy and this girl start arguing, and accidentally, she falls off the boat, she grabs onto the boat the last second and asks the rich guy to pull her up. And he's also on the ground, I mind you, and he hesitated for like a second or two maybe. And then she just falls. And again, because the scene is shot really fast, and it's a really short scene actually, this doesn't feel like an action that would later classify him as a villain. But this girl, literally for the rest of the movie, is gonna call him names, and in the finale gonna accuse him of trying to murder her. And this doesn't really work for me, because, like I said, he doesn't really do anything evil in this movie besides that one scene. He helps people around, he tries to save other characters from certain death. Bruh, literally the whole reason he pulled everyone to this island is to find a cure for cancer or heart disease or whatever. Like, he doesn't feel like a bad person. There's also a few more scenes where characters of Doctor and Scarlett Johansson discuss that he's gonna sell this cure for cancer for like a lot of money, meaning there's gonna be a paywall for everyone and only the rich ones are gonna get the cure. But that's kind of just speculations, because he never says he's gonna do that, and they just talk behind his back, speculating that he's gonna do that. But again, it's never really established that he's gonna do that. They're just guessing essentially. I don't think I have to go into the details explaining that typically the expensive cures for random diseases cost a lot, because they are difficult to make. But whatever, because the topic of curing harsh diseases is basically only there, so we got some action and the side characters were eaten by the dinosaurs. The side characters, by the way, are not too bad. They're not annoying. Most of them are at least pretty likable and or played by charismatic actors, so you typically at least feel something when they're eaten by dinosaurs. But however, it's also really cliche, like I said before, and you can almost always guess who's gonna be eaten next. However, death of the side characters are sorta imaginative, so again, they're memorable. There's actually only one annoying scene where a side character dies because, again, spoiler alert, because in this scene he doesn't die, even though it's heavily implied that he's going to die any second now. Everything leads to this, all of the characters react gruesomely, and then just spoiler, like boom, there's just out of nowhere, he just isn't dead. And that makes absolutely no sense because of the way that scene is edited and shot. He basically is one-on-one with the T-Rex, like they're face to face. And then just off screen, just cut, and then he's okay. So the T-Rex apparently just walked away. He roared him in the face, and he just walked away. And that's weird because before that, T-Rex was pretty aggressive. He was attacking people around him. This time, he just didn't do anything. I have heard speculations that T-Rex is supposed to be like a mentally damaged creature. He wasn't asked to be born, and he's just sort of mindlessly walking around the facility because he's actually not a terrible monster. He's just sort of attracted to his only known home, and as a result he didn't eat this character because, again, he's not evil, he was just like protecting his home basically in his territory. But that still doesn't make a lot of sense in my opinion, because he kills the rich guy for barely any reason. Like, everything before that was portraying this monster as a, well, monster. So speculating that he wasn't evil and la-di-da, I feel like that's just stretching the plot in the conclusion you want to hear, basically. All that being said, I think I stretched that video long enough. In conclusion, again, I like that movie. If you want to go look at it, go look at it. I may be gonna rewatch it because there was a few scenes that stuck out to me, and the action with dinosaurs was fun. All the memes that I saw on TikTok about this movie were pretty fun as well. T-Rex is a cool villain. I hope they're gonna use this creature more because the model looked fun. And again, I overall just hope they're gonna stop pretending like the dinosaurs are actually dinosaurs and continue making kaiju-like monsters, because visually that just looks cool and I feel like everybody already are tired of like typical looking dinosaurs. That's it for today. Leave a like, tell me in the comments if you agree with my hot takes. See ya!